This is Kevin Murphy from Rip Tracks and Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Hey, this is Mark from Casting Crowns.
Hey, this is Alan Powell from the film The Song.
Hey, this is Christian Kane.
This is Colin Mockery.
Hello, everybody. This is Irony Singleton, a.k.a. T-Dog from The Walking Dead, and you are listening to my main man, Brandon.
All right. Halloween Kills, another Michael Myers movie. It is obviously Chapter 2 in these new films. Blumhouse has been producing the 2018 film, ties to the original and kind of creates this new universe, or technically 3. The film opened really, really strong, and I really want to highly recommend it if you enjoy those films. Why is it a fun film? Well, it's a fun film for fans of the franchise if you view this as a slasher franchise. I think if you are looking for all of these deep metaphors and mythology and some of those kinds of things, and maybe this isn't for you. But I will say I enjoyed it. I did rewatch the 2018 film. I know a lot of folks are not huge fans. I, on the other hand, am a huge fan. I want to go ahead and go through the story first, and I'll go ahead and play some of the footage from the trailer. Basically, the film has a flashback to the original film, 1978, with the police surrounding the Strode home and taking on Michael in the role of Dr. Loomis. And it also takes place in 2018, immediately after the events of the first film, with Laurie Strode's home completely on fire and Michael Myers trapped inside. They're in the back of a farm truck. Laurie's, of course, injured to her belly. She's bleeding out, and they think that they've got him trapped and he'll die. Firefighters are racing to the scene, and you have kind of a couple of these different elements that are taking place in 2018, flashbacks to 1978. And of course, there's also what we thought was the death, but now the survival of Officer Hawkins, who has ties to the original film, and of course, the 2018 film. So you have sort of all this that plays out. And then basically what transpires is the firefighters inadvertently save Michael. He had pulled down one of Laurie's safety shields, like a window, like a hurricane door over the place. So he was not totally consumed by the fire, and a fireman falls through the floor, and that leads to his escape, ultimately murdering all the firefighters and then beginning to wreak havoc on the town. The boyfriend, there's the Bonnie and Clyde boyfriend in the first film. Allison's boyfriend, I can't remember his name, doesn't matter. He helps save Hawkins, get him to the hospital in time. They get Laurie to the hospital in time. She survives emergency surgery, and then basically she's sort of kind of like removed from the film, and she's more to like almost like weird exposition that happens intermittently through the film and not part of the action, because she's an elderly woman that's been injured. Hawkins is an older officer. He's been injured. So it's more about like Michael. And what's interesting about this version of the Michael Myers is really tapping into that classic 80s, 90s, middle of the road sequels from the original slasher films, right? So the original Halloween is in of itself, a classic film that most people just love and adore. I don't think any of these films can do anything to derail that or change it. I think it's more how to make a lot of nods to fans and things like that. I thought the first film did some of that. I thought there was a lot of humor. Some fans didn't care for that. I enjoyed rewatching it. I didn't enjoy the secondary characters at all in the second viewing. I don't know if I watched it a third time or not, but I know I saw it just recently. And, Allison was fine. Judy Greer as Laurie's daughter was fine. All of that was okay. What was weird in this one was that they kind of retreated on some of the humor, and they ramped up a lot of fan service for like the Uber fans. So I didn't know all of them. I knew a couple because I had watched a couple of the other films over the last year. So I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that from this or doesn't that? This? So I did. I'm going to pull that screen up for you in a second. The film has incredible gore and gruesome deaths, and some are silly, but I think that kind of fulfills some of that thirst for that slasher film. There's also like the idiocy is still very common, right? You have 4 people with a couple of pistols. They go out by themselves. They're inside the car. There's nowhere for them to survive. So once he has them in the car, there's nowhere for them to go. That those type of sequences happen more than once, and it is if you're expecting things to make sense, you're watching the wrong kind of films. I mean, I have kind of like a guilty pleasure with these films. I will say they've moved away from some of the, nudity and gratuitous elements that Scream mocked so well, and that they're now into more of just pure, unadulterated slasher. And this film tries to really go into almost like a supernatural theme that Michael is just evil and pure evil, and he's unstoppable. And he's kind of like a predator shark. I mean, it's like almost like a Jaws metaphor. He escapes, murders, and just keeps moving back towards that Strode house, and it's just a wake of murder. There's allusions to what his motivations might be with his whole he looks out the window thing, but it's never anything that's clearly defined, and it just means he's just a machine that's going to kill and murder, and he's going to survive and overcome no matter what happens. The film is a middle chapter. Obviously, there's an open ending here with a little twist that I do like. I think that as it was going through, it's almost like you could predict how absurd some of the deaths were going to go, but I didn't find that a problem. I don't know what people wanted. The film really gets into this very heavy, deep metaphor about his murders have turned the citizens into monsters by them just having enough. Like Anthony Michael Hall plays Tommy, and there are other characters that have survived the Michael Myers attacks, and there's great flashbacks to those when they were kids. Some of them are the original actors and actresses, and it's fine. And they're chasing around this other mental patient, and they basically drive him to commit suicide. I don't mind it. I know it doesn't work real well. I know a lot of critics are going to pile on all of that. You're talking about a movie that's kind of middle of the road. We're talking about a movie that's like, a 5 or a 6. But that doesn't mean it's not fun and entertaining. You can have a decent time. So let's go through some of the footage. I'll kind of narrate what some of this stuff is so you can kind of know what we're talking about and not have any sound. So this is actually part of those sequences. These are these little kids. They've basically hijacked the candy. There's a gay couple that lives now in the Strode family home. They've hijacked all the candy. This is one of the previous survivors, finds them just playing on a playground. They're out alone. She's out alone. Like, she leaves everyone else in the car. It's just, again, it's like all of the cliches of the Scream franchise brought to life in this film is no different. She's looking around, and, they find basically it's cut out of order. But this is how it is. Like, you have people trapped in the car, and he's there. There's nowhere for them to go. He's holding a head in his hand. I never noticed that when the shot first happened in the film because it happened so quick. This is all shot out of order. It is not in the sequence that it plays out in the film. So there's really no spoilers here. That have trapped themselves inside the car. So this is a couple that appears early in the film and then again. So there's going to be a critic thing. Let me see if it's spoiled in the trailer, and if not, I'll point it out. So again, original actress, survivor from the first film. It almost reminds me of like the 90s era where you ended up with, like, I think Halloween H2O, but that, I Know What You Did Last Summer spinoffs, these kind of films Kevin Williamson made where people are in these really dumb situations. There's some comedy, but it's just the chaos. They're going to die. It's about how they're going to die. I don't know. I have mixed feelings because I feel like people are this dumb. So I don't really. Let me jump ahead. This is a great shot of him emerging, which really is really pretty cool, to be honest, because the mask continues to get more charcoaled and damaged, but never, ever anything significant. And he takes on the firefighters, of course. We talked about that. This is that survivor scene. There's the Anthony Michael Hall in the Halloween. A lot of scenes are in this hospital. And this is them finding dead bodies. That couple we talked about earlier on the merry-go-round. Just the absurdity. All the masks are the allusion to Season of the Witch. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So this is just then of course you're going to have this scene where they end up having to converge on the house. Bloody handprints. We're going to go upstairs. What was really funny about these scenes where one of the gay guys, they're Johns, right? Big John and Little John, I think. And he pulls up a little knife, and the blade on this knife is like it's almost like a scalpel. It was absurd. It's like, What are you gonna do? Why do you think a knife, your arm's length away from another human being? I don't know. This is a different sequence. This was an elderly couple that he comes upon very early in the film, and you just show no mercy. You show just pure monster. Again, great shots were in the trailer to show you what he looks like and really get you excited about going to see a Michael Myers film. I think all that plays out well. Like I said, it opened very strong. Let's see here what we got. Yeah, this is that horrible murder scene, and then this is near the end when you have the final confrontation in the Strode house with the endings. And you can see here like a little bit of the mask is kind of like destroyed there, damaged. And then of course this is flashback stuff, which didn't make the cut. I don't think that's actually in the final cut. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Anything else great? She just pulls it. Allison leaves the knife with her. This was a very deceptive shot in the trailer of her with the knife, because she's really irrelevant in a lot of ways to the story. Oh geez, I hit the wrong button. Sorry, folks. Anyway, all right. So let me get out of that. It's going to play a little bit. So what is interesting is I didn't realize how much mythos they were trying to expand on. Let me get to that one shot I talked about the critics. The critics are really going to come after this one shot where they're, the idiots that are in the SUV, and the black girl takes the gun away from him because he's such an incompetent boob, doesn't know how to use a firearm. She claims she knows, so she has the gun. When she ends up outside the vehicle, Michael is attacking the husband inside the vehicle, and Michael, she's firing shots, just randomly firing shots. She has no idea what she's doing, right? And she gets so close to the vehicle that he hits the door, and when he does, she ends up killing herself. She's pulled, so it flips the gun around at her. Now, it is absurd and silly, but it's also not unbelievable when you think about someone just randomly shooting shots. It's almost like she just kept pulling the trigger, and the gun hit it, and it went off in her face. Again, what are you expecting with these films? I kind of laughed. Sorry. That maybe that'd be the best thing to say and do. Whatever. You'll think less of me. So let's go to a couple things. The mask on the merry-go-round are a silver shamrock mask from Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. There are 12 pumpkins in the opening sequences, indicating the 12th installment in the franchise. Those were actual firefighters from that area. They talk about how they brought Loomis back using different visual effects and another voice actor that had done it previously. But I wanted to go down here a little bit further where it talks about Kyle Richards, Charles Cyphers, Nancy Stevens, and Nick Castle all reprised their role from the 78 original. So all of those original cast members are in this film, which I thought was great. And they haven't been brought back since Halloween 2. I thought that it did a really, really great job in all of that. There's lots of scenes where things are talked about and not shown. You see a lot of parallels to that first film or some of the other films. They are fans. I mean, if you go through this is on IMDb. You can look at the trivia list. There is a lot of effort to tie some different things back together, and I'm sure they may have helped release some of this stuff. They hire people to put this stuff out there or whatever. There was a lot of stuff in here of fan service, little nods to those kinds of fans. And I don't know that paid off for them at the box office, but it sure didn't hurt Hollywood. Maybe you should get a clue. Look, Halloween Kills, not a good movie, not a great film or anything like that. Not a big fan of, rated R Hollywood film, because this is rated R. Like 90% of it is, cursing and the gross murders. Yeah, I don't know where our current IBDs. I don't even know where they've changed their website too much. Now you can't even find what scores and stuff are. I liked it though. I thought it was good. I'd recommend it. It's fun. If you like this kind of movie, I think you'll have a good time. Let's see, Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, let's see what it says. It says critics is 39%. So if it's below 50, what's our usual rule? It usually means it's pretty good. I'm going to say audience score will probably be in the high 60s or 70s. Look at that, 70%. Yep, that's the rule. the less they like it, the more likely we will. Now, admittedly, 39 is way too low. 39 is too low. This is more, if I had to do their silly scale of Rotten Tomatoes, I would say this is more like 55. Like, to be a real film critic and be an honest film critic, 55. If you like this kind of stuff, you want to be entertained, slasher film, Halloween, yeah, sure. Give it a shot. Good stuff. That's why I did well. Anyway, hope you'll tell me what you think in the comments below. And